we had AI coding assistants like GitHub Copilot, and like, okay, that was revolutionary to us at first. And then we had AI agents, and people were talking about, oh, they're gonna have like so much autonomy, and like, I mean, not autonomy. They're gonna bring us so much like autonomous use cases, and they're gonna just gonna be doing things on our behalf. But then it didn't really feel that smooth because there was like things like Devin. I don't know if you remember when that came out, the first
Yeah, I
human
do.
AI
Yeah.
software engineer, and
Mm-hmm.
people were really disappointed with it, right? And I think
Yeah.
because it didn't have like integrations to all the tools that we like use in our day to day, and it wasn't fast and all that. And I think MCP brought that, where like whatever AI agent you bring, it could hook into any application or tool that you're using, and then that brings that true autonomy, because you can literally say like, hey, I want to do this with Google Drive, and it'll do it for you, no copy and paste. So I think it's an amazing protocol. It probably could use some more evolution, but I think the team knows that they're working on making it better, and I
Okay.
like that.
Hi, Rizel.
Hi, Ida.
Yeah, cool. So in this episode, we're just gonna be talking about AI, in engineering workflow. We're gonna be touching MCP. We're gonna be touching AI agents. We're gonna be touching vibe coding, how to vibe code the right way. That would be the idea around this particular episode, right? So before we get into that, let's just do some introduction. So our guest here is Razel. So Razel, just give us an intro of what you currently do, for people that don't know you in the web space. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey everyone, my name's Rizel Scarlett. On the internet, I go by Black Girl Bytes. I am currently a tech lead of open source developer relations at Block. Block is a company that does like Cash App and Square and Afterpay, and we also developed an open source AI agent called Goose, and that's my main focus.
Mm, okay, amazing. So just a quick question, right? How's your day-to-day activity like? Like from starting out today working to working on particular tasks, maybe at work, right? Just take us through a day-to-day, like your day-to-day activity. What's it like?
Yeah, I mean, day to day, I usually come in with a plan of like, okay, I probably want to like um fix this application that we use internally, or I want to write some documentation, or I need to do a live stream. But that all gets derailed because usually I have to maybe help some of my teammates with like questions that they
Mm-hmm.
have. Maybe they're trying to like get something done, or they're trying to understand like how should they document a particular feature. So that often like gets pushed to the side, and I prioritize my teammates, and then I might go back to deciding like, hey, I'm going to try out a new feature in Goose, and I'm going to live stream myself doing it. And then I might take that
Mm,
live stream and turn it into a blog post, so that like I can be able to reach developers in different formats.
amazing. Okay, so quickly, just let's talk about Goose, right? So what exactly is Goose? Like, what does it do? Like, just give us the basic idea around it.
Yeah, Goose is an open source AI agent, so it can basically automate any task that you have, whether it's a developer task or, as we've seen internally at Block, because we use it at Block, it
Mm-hmm.
can do anything. It even does like non-developer tasks. There's a lot of people from executive assistants to HR people who are using it to automate things, help them learn more. And if folks aren't familiar with agents, I will simply describe it as a software that does tasks on your behalf.
Okay, cool. So is it like Cursor? Is it like Gemini, CLI? Like what exactly? Like is it just um because you mentioned right now, right? It's more than a coding agent, right? Other people do use it. So what's the structure like? Is it like a desktop application or is it on the terminal or like what was it like?
Yeah, there's 2, different platforms that you can use. You can either use it through the desktop application or the CLI.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I think you asked if it was like Cursor. It's not necessarily like Cursor. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
built into your IDE. However, it does support something called ACP, or Agent Client Protocol, which means you
Okay.
can actually bring Goose into any IDE that supports it, like Zed or IntelliJ.
Mm, okay, cool.
So
So
yeah,
so
it's
what
like
model
basically
like
these 2 different platforms. Hmm?
Uh-huh. Yeah, what model does it run on? Like what LLM model does it run on? Or is it an open source model, or it makes use of different models?
Yeah, amazing question. It's LLM agnostic. So whatever
Mm,
provider or LLM model you prefer, you can basically bring your API key and
okay.
hook it up. So bring your own LLM. It's also local to your computers. Like most agents, they're like running in the cloud or a browser or like we said, like a particular IDE. This is local to your computer. So whatever if you were hooking Goose up with a local LLM, you can probably keep everything, like, mm, private and in your computer. The only issue is right now, the local LLMs, they're still getting better at tool calling, so Goose doesn't
Mm-hmm.
always perform as well with them.
Okay, amazing. So let's just quickly just jump right into the actual conversation, right? So speaking about AI right now, in the engineering workflow, right? So how do you think AI has changed the way we approach problem solving?
I think that's a really good question. I think it has allowed, at least for me, it's allowed me to be
Mm-hmm.
faster and maybe more creative. And then it also puts me more, I think it's helped me to have an even more senior mindset. I think when I was a junior, I'm just like, all right, I need to fix this syntax. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like here's what I need to do. But I think with AI, it forces me to take a step back, plan ahead of time, and kind of collaborate more, like the AI tool is kind of like a teammate or someone under me. I'm pretty bossy, like I'm a big sister. So I think it has helped me to get into that mindset and I'm like, all right, here's how we need to approach this problem, Goose or Cursor or whatever. I'm like, take a step back, do this first, do that first. So it really allows us to be more like orchestrators or a little bit like more managers in the way that we approach developer problems.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, right? So what do you think is the difference, right, between the way we work with AI agents and the traditional way of working with our code? So what do I mean? Before like the old AI agent era, right? We pretty much were using like VS Code to write code manually, Stack Overflow and whatnot, right? So what do you think about that style of like that shift, right, between using AI agents to autocomplete and the traditional way of actually writing code?
Yeah, I mean, I think similar to what I said, where I think it forces us to take a step back. I think when I
Mm,
type code, I'm very, like, locked into like, zeroed into that particular problem, but I think in using AI agents, it, like, kind of allows me to see a bigger picture. That's one pro, like, see the entire bigger picture or full scale of things. The con, though, that I'm concerned about is, like, us continuing to have that deep knowledge of how different, like, coding works and stuff like that, but I think when you work with AI agents, you just have to be, like, really intentional and still use that as a point, or tool of learning.
mm. Okay, makes sense. So now, speaking about balance, right, between using AI agents and actually um, working as developers, right? So, what tasks do you think AI agents should handle, and what tasks do you think a developer should handle, like manually on their own? Should they give out all the tasks to AI agents, or they should make a segment of a particular task? Okay, the AI agent is going to handle some, while me as the developer is going to make sure that I handle some part of it. Like, what's the balance?
Yeah, I think the parts that are, like, repeatable and tedious, I think
Mm-hmm,
you should probably just give that to an AI agent. I think those ones are, like, safer, you know what's going on. But the parts that need a human touch or some level of creativity, I think that's where you as a developer step in. If you need to think about like the user experience more deeply, maybe you can talk with AI agent and brainstorm a little bit, but you shouldn't let the AI agent handle all of that itself.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because I think we pretty much have this. I would say personally, I have this understanding that if I rely too much on this AI agent, I might get to the point where I might not really be able to do much on my own. I might have to rely on them. Like it's like taking sugar, right? When you take sugar, you won't be able to stop taking sugar. You just want to keep on taking more sugar in and stuff like that. Like that is how I feel the AI race it is actually. You won't be able to balance,
Mm.
okay, no, I can do this by hand, right? Or the AI agent is going to handle this. Yeah, cool. Okay, so can you tell us what an ideal agent workflow looks like?
You mean, like, in between having being hands off and, like, when
Mm,
the developer starts jumping in?
yes.
Let me see if I can pick something I've done before. Okay, so here's an example. I recently used Goose to migrate not like a database, but, like, migrate my code base from using React to Next.js. Luckily, they're both pretty
Hmm.
similar, but typically that might take me a little bit of time if I'm doing that by myself. So first, I basically told Goose, like, hey, can you take a look at how the code base is? That way I give it a little bit of like a refresher, or it understands like what it's looking at rather than me just telling it to like jump straight in. So it got a chance to look around, and then I told it, all right, um, now I wanna actually, copy the entire, like, UI. I don't wanna copy any logic or anything like that. I wanna copy the entire UI, and I pulled in different MCP servers, like the Chrome Developer Tools extension, the GitHub MCP
Mm-hmm.
server as well, and
Mm-hmm.
the Chrome DevTools allowed, Goose to be able to see literally what was going on rather than just hallucinating that it actually made changes or assuming based on like just editing the code. So it used both of those. It changed it for me, and then it came back to me and like told me what it changed. I manually verified it, and then after that like I was able to move on back like and do more. So to me that workflow is like me seeing something, me giving Goose the context that it needs. I think that's what you were trying to ask me a little bit before we got cut off, is like how do you stop like your AI agent from hallucinating and bringing in the right stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Like as a developer, you need to give it enough context through having a really defined prompt and then using different like files or features that agents have. So many features respect context files like an agents.md file that's like universally respected, or different agents have like cursor has cursor rules, Goose has Goose hints, and so on and so forth. So giving all of that information that it needs and pointing it to the right locations, like I typically have Goose work in a specific directory that I'm in so that it doesn't make anything up. It's all in that specific place. So the workflow to me is you as a user give it context, Goose or whatever agent executes things on your behalf. It ask it to verify those things as well, like make sure it actually did it right, or like whatever its confidence level is, then you check as well, and then you keep doing that like same pattern over and over again.
Hmm. Amazing. Okay, I mean that's actually very like a very very full detailed workflow of like using your AI agents, which makes a lot of sense, right? So let's quickly just talk about MCPs, right? So what are your thoughts about MCPs? I think it's almost a year now, right? We've been hearing MCP servers, MCP clients. So what are your thoughts about MCP?
Like, what are my thoughts? I think it's valuable. I like it. I know this is a very like controversial. Some people think
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
it's just an API or like it's not very good. I think, okay, maybe it's like the rudimentary level of what we could potentially have in the future, but it got something started for us because we
Yeah.
had a lot of we had AI coding assistants like GitHub Copilot, and like okay, that was revolutionary to us at first, and then we had AI agents, and people were talking about, oh, they're gonna have like so much autonomy and like, I mean, not autonomy. They're gonna bring us so much like autonomous use cases, and they're gonna just gonna be doing things on our behalf. But then it didn't really feel that smooth because there was like things like Devin. I don't know if you remember when that came out, the first
Yeah, I
human
do.
AI
Yeah.
software engineer, and
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
people were really disappointed with it, right? And I think
Yeah.
because it didn't have like integrations to all the tools that we like use in our day to day, and it wasn't fast and all that. And I think MCP brought that where like whatever AI agent you bring, it could hook into any application or tool that you're using. And then that brings that true autonomy because you can literally say, like, hey, I want to do this with Google Drive, and it'll do it for you, no copy and paste. So I think it's an amazing protocol. It probably could use some more evolution, but I think the team knows that they're working on making it better. And I
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, so what's the most exciting MCP server you've gotten to like use? Why working with AI agents?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Chrome Developer Tools MCP server. I saw you did a video on it, so you're familiar with it too. And it's nothing
Yeah.
exciting, but it makes coding with like at least with Goose way better. Because before, what
Mhm.
will happen is I'll be like, "Can you fix this bug?" And then it will like look at the syntax and it'll fix the bug syntactically, but it won't be able
Mm.
to actually see the UI, see if it got fixed for real. But bringing in the Chrome Developer Tools MCP server allows it to verify itself. It allows it to run the code. Then it'll be able to see, oh, actually there's a bug or actually there's this performance issue. So I think it's game changing that it gives Goose a little bit more insight. I mean, there's other fun ones like there's a Blender MCP server where you can like literally build a 3D scene, but that's the
Mm.
one that I find is actually valuable for me.
Huh. Amazing. I think me personally, I've gotten to use the Chrome DevTools MCP, and also I think the Figma MCP server, where you just take your design from Figma and
Oh,
just
yeah.
like you just copy the URL, right, and just tell your AI agents. And I mostly use Gemini CLI, right, on the terminal. And I'm like, okay, take this URL, review this
Yeah.
for me, make this a React code. And I think that's the really exciting one so far I've gotten to try out. Yeah, amazing, amazing. I think like you said, right, the MCP server is cool. But there's a lot of controversy around it. Like it's just your API and whatnot and whatnot. But for me personally, I feel like for AI agents, it gives them that like extra layer and that extra context when they are
Yes.
solving problems or trying to fix issues. Yeah, amazing. So for MCP servers, what are you caution about? Like, are there security concerns you have in back of your mind? Are there any reasons developers should be caution about using MCP server so far you've seen?
Yeah, there are like security concerns. People can use like prompt injection and like they can just be doing anything to your computer with an
Mm,
MCP server. So I would say be cautious when you install them, like because anybody in the community can make them. That's the cool part, but also the scary part. What my company has done to really get around that because we wanted everybody in the company to use Goose to get more into the agentic AI system and all that is we decided we're going to just make our own MCP servers in-house. So like yeah, there's existing Slack like I mean maybe not Slack, but like maybe there's an existing Google Drive MCP server, but we're going to use our own. Or if there's one that exists, we'll
mm.
have the security team vet it first before people install it.
Okay, okay. That makes a lot of sense. So speaking
Yeah.
about vibe coding, right? Um, Now we have now there's the conversation around okay, anybody can just vibe code, anybody can be a software engineer, anybody can build out applications with stuff like maybe V0, Lovable, Bolt and whatnot, right? So what do you think about um
Yeah.
this approach where software engineering is going to like based on what we're seeing online or based on the bubble? I like calling it the bubble. So do you feel like we still need the fundamental? Do people still need to know how to write code before approaching using AI tools to even vibe code?
Well, that's a really good question. I don't know. Maybe people will turn the podcast off after this, but okay, I am in favor of vibe coding to an extent. I know a lot of people
Yeah.
are not. They're like it's bad. I just think it's important to be able to vibe code responsibly. So like you're saying, it's important to still have some fundamentals. I think
Mhm.
let me see. I think for me, like what I see vibe coding doing is opening the doors for more people. I don't think we need to like say like, oh, only engineers can build these products. If somebody else wants to build a product, they should be able to, but they should be like leveraging these AI tools in a way that they learn and understand what's going on. Like we need to at least give some education to folks who are not maybe like developers by trade to be like know like some fundamentals and know how to interact with an AI tool to make sure it's not implementing like issues that will like mess up with scaling or security or whatever. And now, if you are an engineer and you're vibe coding, I think you should apply something that I heard Patrick Erickson from Continue AI, he referred to it as chiseling. And that's basically like after your AI generates a whole bunch of like stuff, you don't just stop at the working
Mhm.
code. You go deeper in, you refine it, you make sure things are looking good, and you don't just say, "Yeah, I'm just gonna just merge this to main."
Mm. Okay,
That's
cool.
it.
So now speaking about what you just, yeah, yeah, amazing. Speaking about that, right? Now people, for example, people that are making use of V0, right, or boats or Lovable, and they mostly don't have a lot of like fundamentals. Maybe they just know how to use the computer, right? How do they verify? Like, how do they verify all this kind of stuff? Like, because for a personal experience, right? Like I said, I've gotten to use like a lot of these agents to code, to write like production code and stuff like that. And a good example was when I was trying to build out an application, or should I say a dashboard application in Next.js, right? Next.js 16, which we all know is the app router. And um Gemini CLI, I think it was making use of Gemini Flash, the model itself. It was making use of it was interacting with the component and saying that okay, this is a client component, use client, and trying to access some hooks that are not available on the use client component, right? Like that was an example. And the code went
Mhm.
into an infinity loop, right? And Next.js was just
Oh.
running in the background. Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, what's going wrong?" I had to go into the code, look at the page route, the
Look
app
yourself.
router, looked at the particular page. I was like, "Oh, why are you using like this? Is everybody knows that this the use server, the server client, the React server component. Why are you trying to use this? It's not gonna like obviously work." And I had to fix that, and I had to even tell the agent. I was like, "Oh, you're doing something wrong. Fix this." He went in there and still did the wrong thing. I had to like quickly jump in based on the knowledge I have as a React developer, right? Or I've gotten to build
And
React
do it.
applications before. I was able to fix that issue. But now, people that don't have that fundamentals or they don't know how to do all this stuff, like I feel like they will just be in a loop of having to maybe call their developer friends or even go to get freelancers to help them fix all this stuff. Like, what do you think about that kind of approach? Because this AI, we all know, mostly generates bad code sometimes. Maybe, like you said, if there are not a lot of context,
Yeah.
for example, you could tell your LLM to say, okay, make use of Tailwind version 6 when we have Tailwind version 4. And your LLM will go ahead and start writing code. Like, it doesn't even know that version 6 is not out, is in the future. So, like, what do you think about that kind of
Yeah.
situation or that kind of like position for for people that are not developers? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe we're not there yet technology-wise to prevent and all of those issues, but I think
Mm-hmm.
if we like, I don't know, I think if we get non-developers into the mindset of, like, after it generates code, use like, they don't necessarily have to call their developer friend. I could see what you're saying, like, I usually can go back in, check the code, and be like, this isn't right." But, like,
Mm-hmm.
I've I've contributed Rust code before, and I don't know Rust, and I typically say like, "Hey, like, do you see any," like, I usually ask Goose, like, "Do you see any security concerns with this code?" Even though it's the one that like generated the code, or I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Do you see any like bugs that we didn't consider," or something like that. So I'm like, that's something they can do. They can make like a better like plan ahead of time with the AI agent and say like, hey, let's figure out how we're going to approach this in a way that's like scalable, etc. There will still be issues, and you will still need like a human reviewer. But I think for now they can take that approach, and then also reminding them that like if what they're building is going to go beyond like prototype level, probably don't push it out
Mm-hmm.
into production. But if they're just going to use an AI agent just to like come up with an idea and like what could be possible, that's probably something more helpful for them.
Hmm. Okay, amazing. So let's just quickly talk about the right way to vibe code. I think you gave a talk about this a month ago or some month ago, right? So what are the steps, right, to vibe code? Just give us some steps. What are the right methods? What should we do and what should we not do, right? Like just give us the plain picture of how we could vibe code right in the right way.
Yeah, let me see if I remember the talk. I think in the talk I had mentioned a couple of things is like
Uh-huh.
using a good LLM, like a powerful LLM.
Mm,
That's kind of like the brains of your AI agent. If you use one that like kind of sucks, it's going to hallucinate more. It's going
mm,
to generate bad code. I know one that's really excellent right now, like in this time of us talking, is like Claude Sonnet 4.5. That probably to me generates like one of like the better code. Uh, and then what was the other thing I said? I think I talked about like giving it enough context through context files, through good prompts, through pointing it to the right directory, etc., etc. And then the other thing I had talked about was the idea that I think I mentioned to you of chiseling and going back and like really refining the code, whether that's you manually doing it because you have that coding knowledge or even using the AI agent to do that. Like I don't know, sometimes I do that. I tell the AI agent like, "Okay, find the bugs, make like GitHub issues based on these bugs, like use the GitHub MCP server to do that, create these GitHub issues, and then maybe I solve it them myself, or I even give the agent like the each issue to solve on their own." Yeah, those are to me those are like the three like main steps is just like making sure you're using an LLM that's not crap. Usually those are the paid ones, giving
mhm,
it enough context and then going back and like reviewing everything.
mhm, mhm. Amazing. So how can developers, beginner developers, right? How can they use AI without this particular method not affecting their growth?
Mm.
So for example, right, I'm a developer. I just started out my career. I started out building maybe web applications or mobile applications, and I want to start using AI tools. I want to start using AI agents. I want to start using Claude. I want to start using Codex, right, to assist me to write code. And I'm just beginning, like I'm at the beginning point of my career. So how can beginners explore AI tools without this particular flow not affecting their long-term growth as developers?
Yeah, I think one thing that helps you to grow as a developer is reading code. So, whatever the code that the AI tool generates, read it and then go back and ask it questions like, why did you make this decision? What exactly does this mean? Could we have done this another more performant way or something like that?
Mm.
Like, just continuing to be curious, just as if it was like a engineer on your team or something like that, you can learn a lot from.
So, um, currently, right, what are you expecting from the next wave of AI tools, right? So I think
Mm.
from autocomplete, we've seen autocomplete from like copilots back then to AI agents to AI agents having access to like MCPs, context, more context on what they are working on and stuff like that. So like what are you expecting from the next wave of AI tools?
I think now we need to start thinking about like infrastructure for our AI tools. Um, we're probably going to start thinking about security as well. And also, I think probably the next step is just making sure there's more accuracy around our AI tools. And maybe a next step or a next level to MCP.
Let's quickly talk about debugging, testing, and also shipping, right? Why vibe coding? So what's the actual flow like when you're building like a production grade application through using these AI agents?
Yeah, in terms of like debugging and testing and stuff like that, I think I still like debug manually and one cool thing or not maybe cool, but one thing I do that has helped me is I tell my AI agent to make a commit every time it makes a change. That way I'm able to roll back easily if when I like debug or test something and I realize, "Oh, this isn't right. This isn't what I thought it would be or what the agent thinks it'll be." I'd be able to easily
Mhm.
roll back because most AI agents don't have a way to like take a snapshot in time of what's going on. So that's been like my main
Yeah.
like different thing that I might do. But everything else I do like how I do with software engineering. I like either manually test it or I have it or I write some unit tests and I check end to end if everything's still working.
And so what about the shipping part, right? Do you still do it manually?
Yeah, I mean, there are MCP servers that you can use, like the Netlify MCP server to ship things, but
Huh.
I think right now, if you're shipping something with like a backend and some other infrastructure, I still do that manually.
Mhm.
I still feel like that needs a human like verification.
Okay, so do you see in the future, do you see that extra layer where a human has to come in to maybe verify the code for security concerns? Do you see this AI agents getting very smart to the extent of like we don't need to like always want to like verify what's happening, or we could just trust the AI agents blindly? Do you see that future?
I think I think it could eventually get there. I think that's what everyone's aiming to happen. It just feels like fiction right now. It feels like that wouldn't happen because of where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
We never experienced something like that, but I think it could eventually get there.
Amazing. Okay, so quick questions. So what AI tool have you used recently that's really impressive? Let's say in the last months, last 2 months, like recently.
This is not necessarily like an AI agent or anything, but I really like MCP UI. So that's like adding
Okay.
a component interface layer onto your MCP server. I think that's cool because you can like interact with an interface inside of your chatbot or your AI agent or whatever it is you want to call it. Yeah, that's the thing that I'm into and think is cool right now.
Okay, amazing. Can you just tell us more about it? MCP UI, is that what you call it?
Yeah, MCPUI. So basically, this allows your this I mean, people describe it in different ways, but this is how I would describe it. It allows your AI agent to respond to you in an interface. So,
Hmm.
the example that people typically use, because this was made by some developers at Shopify, or at least they worked at Shopify at one point. You could tell the AI agent you want to buy a shirt, and it'll respond to you in text and say, "Oh, there's this blue shirt for $15.99." But you can't see it, right? So that's like kind of
Hmm.
limiting. You wouldn't want to buy a shirt without knowing what it looks like. So if you add
Correct.
an MCP UI layer onto it, it can return with like literally the interface from like the shopping cart where you could see the shirt and you could press add to cart and stuff like that. So that allows you to have a more intuitive experience with an AI agent.
Amazing, amazing. It sounds very, very cool. Okay, so
Yeah.
what's one thing you think developers should stop doing with AI?
They should stop just that's a good question. They should okay, honestly, I think they should be more open to AI. I think they should. They should stop saying no to it.
Hmm.
Because I see even companies deciding to hire junior engineers who are, um who are accustomed to, familiar with, and experts at using AI agents. So it's kind of moving in that direction. I think, yeah, there's AI slop, but stop just saying no to it before you really try it and learn it as a developer tool.
Amazing. So you guys should embrace AI before it's too late. I think
Yeah.
that's just the
Yeah. Maybe
summarization of
that should
that.
have been my
Yeah.
start. Whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so what is one thing developers should start doing, right? So we just talked about what they shouldn't do. What should they start doing with AI, like AI agents, AI, like the whole AI ecosystem? What should they start doing? What do you think they should start doing? Just one thing.
One thing. They should start reviewing the code that AI
Mm,
generates. I know these
okay.
sound simple, but I'm seeing a lot of people like
Uh,
there's those two sides. There's the people that are either like resistant to it, and I'm like, stop being resistant, embrace it. And then there's the people who are embracing it, but without they're being way too trustworthy. Just go ahead and review the code that it generates and like use it more as a developer tool rather than just saying like, okay, I'm just gonna merge everything and just trusting it.
Okay, amazing. So in this particular episode, we've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about how to vibe code the right way. We've talked about AI agents. We've talked about what we should expect, and pretty much touch a lot of things about like using AI to code as a developer or as a software engineer. Right. So where can developers or where can people in the ecosystem where can they follow your work? Are you on X? Are you on Twitter, LinkedIn? Where you're mostly active on? Where can they follow your work?
Yeah, I'm basically on like almost every social media, like X or like Twitter, Blue Sky, etc. As Black Girl Bites, and on LinkedIn, I'm Rizel Scarlett.
Uh-huh. Amazing, amazing. So thank you, Rizel, for coming to the episode to come talk about AI in engineering workflow. And See you around. Bye for now.
Alright. Yeah. Thank you. Alright. Oh, I'm gonna go now.